of the group possessed special powers, he or she was a threat to the survival of the group itself and had to go. The thing was, she didn't believe in witches, or at least not as humans possessing supernatural powers. More likely, they were simply smart, observant people who acquired certain skills, like healing the sick as far as was possible then, and for that they were sometimes put to death. Why was it those suspicious villagers tended to focus on the bad stuff, like the idea that witches made people sick rather than curing them? Why was it that hate and anger always seemed to trump kindness and comfort? And what did it have to do with her? That was the underlying issue she was dancing around. Abby was gradually coming to terms with the idea that she had an ability that most people did not. But she was aware that if she talked about it, people would label her as crazy and fear her. Oh, yeah, Abby, she hears voices. She belongs in the loony bin. Or, there's medication for that now. Just take your pills, dear, and it will all go away. Which didn't solve anything. She didn't exactly welcome whatever it was, but she didn't want it to go away either, medicated into submission. Still, she couldn't let other people know about it. But Ned understood. How lucky was she that she had just happened to meet him on a house tour in Waltham. When she'd tried to explain what was happening to her to Brad back then, he had predictably told her she was crazy, that she needed to get out more, find some friends, keep busy. It hadn't been a warm and sympathetic reaction, but in a way she couldn't blame him for that. He had never been a very imaginative person, except when he was visualizing his shining career path. But Ned got it, because he shared it, even though he hadn't really admitted it to himself when they first met. So, in a way, whatever she learned would help both of them. Scrape, scrape. Sometimes she got lucky and a couple of long strips peeled off easily. More often, she had to hack away at stubborn spots with her trusty putty knife while trying not to damage the plaster beneath. Nice plaster it was, smooth and strong. Some nail holes here and there, showing where people had hung pictures in the past. Now and then, she'd come upon a patched hole, which, based on its size, she guessed was where there had once been a gas line for a wall sconce. There were still a few in the upstairs bedrooms that nobody had bothered to remove. Abby couldn't imagine how bright, or more likely not bright, a gas-lit room would be. Nor could she imagine trying to read either a book or a newspaper in that era, since both used extremely small print, or to sew or do embroidery or anything dainty like that. What the heck had people done after dark back then? Held sing-alongs around an upright piano that came with its own brackets for candles? Abby, you're still ducking the issue. Would you have been labeled a witch in 1692, and would somebody have wanted you to die for it? She didn't believe in witches. She did believe that her gift or power or whatever could have come down through the family genes somehow. It wasn't gender-linked, so it could have come from any number of family lines. The immediate question was, had any of her ancestors been accused of witchcraft? Or had they laid low, kept their unusual abilities to themselves, and prayed that no one would look their way? Either way, if there were ancestors, or if there were others in extreme fear, would she be able to sense them somewhere in Andover or Salem? Or the residue of the community's shared fear? It wasn't purely selfish or indulgent on her part to look into this, because there was Ellie to consider. Abby knew firsthand that Ellie was seeing people who were not there. Being young, she took it in stride, but even she had figured out that other people didn't see them, and she'd better keep her mouth shut or they'd say she was weird and shun her. Shunning could be very painful when you were in second grade. And look at how her mother, Leslie, had reacted. She and Ned had tried to explain as best they could what they understood of the phenomenon, and had gently tried to break it to Leslie that